Ladies, let me be real with you. The first mistake so many women make in relationships is thinking love will automatically fix everything. You meet a man, you fall for him, you're excited, and you want to believe that just because you care deeply, he's going to care the same way. But here's the truth: people treat you how you allow them to treat you. If you don't set boundaries from day one, if you don't let that man know what you will and will not tolerate, then he will test you. It's not because he's always evil or heartless, but because that's just human nature. We test each other, we push limits, and if nobody stops us, we keep pushing. That's why boundaries are not optional. They are necessary. Now, I've seen it over and over again. A woman gets hurt by a man. Maybe he lied, maybe he disrespected her, maybe he ignored her feelings. And she thinks, well, maybe I should give him another chance. Maybe if I just forgive him, he'll get better. And let me tell you, second chances without accountability are not second chances. They're green lights for him to do it again. The very first time a man hurts you, that's when you have to stand tall and say, hold on, that's not acceptable. That doesn't fly with me. Because if you stay silent the first time, you just trained him that your silence is permission. Boundaries are not about being rude, hard, or heartless. Boundaries are about teaching people how to love you correctly. When you say, this is my line, don't cross it, you're not just protecting yourself. You're also teaching that man how to be a better partner. Sometimes a man doesn't even know what you expect until you lay it out. But if you don't speak up, he'll assume you're okay with whatever he's giving. Think about it like this: when you go to a job, that company has rules. They tell you what time you clock in, what your duties are, what happens if you don't perform. They lay out expectations. Why? Because without structure, there's chaos. Relationships are the same. If you never make your standards clear, you will get chaos. And then you'll be sitting around confused, crying, asking yourself why he doesn't treat you right, when the truth is you never made it clear what right even means to you. Ladies, I need you to hear me on this. Men respect what you demand, not what you beg for. If you say, I don't accept cheating, but then you take him back after he cheats with no consequences, you didn't set a boundary. You made an empty threat. If you say, I want consistency, but you keep answering his calls after he disappears for days, you didn't set a boundary. You rewarded his inconsistency. Boundaries without enforcement are just wishes. You can't just say it, you have to live it. And don't let fear keep you from setting boundaries. Some women are afraid to speak up because they think, if I'm too strict, he'll leave me. If I demand too much, I'll scare him away. Let me tell you something. If a man leaves because you asked to be respected, he was never yours to begin with. If he's scared off by your self-worth, then good riddance, because you just dodged years of pain. The right man is not intimidated by your boundaries, he's guided by them. A man who truly cares about you will rise to the standards you set. A man who doesn't care will run, and that's your blessing, not your loss. Boundaries also protect your heart from being broken over and over again. Without them, you will keep making excuses for him. You'll keep hoping he'll change, and each time you'll lose a little more of yourself. But when you set boundaries early, you stop the cycle before it starts. You give him a clear choice to step up or step out, and that saves you time, tears, and energy you could have wasted on the wrong man. I'll give you an example. Imagine a man talks down to you. Maybe he raises his voice. Maybe he calls you out of your name. If you don't check that behavior immediately, you just sent him a message that he can disrespect you and still have access to your love. And once he knows that, it becomes a pattern. But if the very first time he does it, you stop him cold and say, I will not be spoken to like that. If you think you can raise your voice at me, this conversation is over. Now he has to think twice. Now he knows he can't play with you. That's how respect is built. Not from crying, not from begging, but from showing that you value yourself enough to walk away if necessary. Boundaries are not about controlling a man. They're about controlling yourself. You can't make somebody act right, but you can decide what you're willing to put up with. That's where your power is. Too many women give up that power, hoping they can change a man. You can't change him. You can only inspire change by showing him that the price of your presence is respect. And if he can't afford that price, then he can't afford you. You also have to understand that boundaries aren't just about stopping bad behavior. They're also about creating healthy behavior. For example, you can set boundaries around communication. If you need daily check-ins, say that. If you don't like last-minute plans, say that. If you want honesty, demand that. A man who really wants you in his life will listen and adjust. A man who doesn't will argue, dismiss, or ignore your needs. And that's how you know where he truly stands. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Steve, I already let him hurt me. I didn't set boundaries at the beginning. Is it too late? No, it's never too late. But you do have to be firm. You can't go back to who you were yesterday. You have to say, from this point on, things are going to be different. I know I allowed certain behavior before, but I've learned my worth, and I won't accept it anymore. Then you back it up with action. Don't just talk about change, be the change. See, men pay attention to consistency. If you fold under pressure, if you threaten to leave but never do, he'll learn to wait you out. But if you stand on your word, he'll learn he can't play with you. And here's the beauty of it: when you set strong boundaries, you don't just protect yourself. You actually increase his respect for you. Because deep down, men admire a woman who knows her value. They might fight it at first, but in the end, they respect it. And ladies, let me tell you, the man who truly loves you, the man who is serious about you, he won't be offended by your boundaries. He'll be grateful for them, because boundaries create clarity, and clarity creates security. A good man wants to know how to love you right. He doesn't want to guess. He doesn't want to play games. He wants to know what makes you happy, what makes you feel safe, what makes you feel valued. And when you tell him, that's a gift to him as much as it is to you. So don't ever be afraid to set boundaries. Don't ever think you're asking too much when all you're asking for is respect, consistency, honesty, and love. Those aren't luxuries, they're the basics. And if a man can't give you the basics, then he doesn't deserve the best of you. Ladies, I need you to listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you can change the entire way you deal with men who hurt you. The biggest mistake I see women make after being disrespected, ignored, or played is this: they chase. They chase for answers. They chase for apologies. They chase for closure. They think if they just call enough, text enough, cry enough, he'll wake up one day and realize how much she loves him. But let me tell you something right now. Chasing a man who hurt you is the same as telling him that no matter what he does, he'll always have a guaranteed place in your life. And when a man feels guaranteed, he stops putting in effort. See, men are hunters by nature. That's how God wired us. We pursue what we value. We go after what we want. If a man truly wants you, you won't have to chase him, because he will already be chasing you. And if you find yourself doing all the chasing, all the begging, all the convincing, then that's your first sign he doesn't value you the way he should. Now, I know that's hard to hear, because your heart wants to believe otherwise, but your silence is stronger than any words you could ever say. When you stop chasing and instead step back in silence, you send a powerful message. I am not desperate. I am not weak. I will not lower my value just to keep someone who doesn't see it. And let me tell you, silence is a mirror. It forces him to face himself. When you're constantly calling, texting, demanding, he can ignore you because you're still there. But when you go quiet, that's when he starts to wonder. That's when he starts to ask himself, did I lose her? Is she done with me? Is another man in her life? That silence will eat at him more than any argument ever could. Now let's be real, silence is not easy. It takes strength, because everything in you will want to pick up that phone, to explain yourself one more time, to make sure he understands your heart. But here's the truth: if he didn't understand it when you were there, your words won't make him understand it now. Silence teaches him what your presence never could: that you're not a woman who can be taken for granted. Think about this. Imagine a man disrespects you. You argue, you scream, you text him paragraphs, and he tunes you out. To him, your voice just becomes background noise. But imagine instead you say nothing. You stop answering his calls. You stop entertaining his excuses. You stop giving him access to your energy. That silence is deafening. That silence says, I am done teaching you how to treat me. You either know it by now or you lose me. That's power. And let me make something clear: silence is not about playing games. It's not the same as the immature silent treatment where you're just trying to manipulate somebody. No, silence in this context is about strength, self-control, and self-respect. It's about recognizing that your peace is more important than proving a point. It's about saying, I don't need to fight for my worth. It's already established. If you don't see it, that's your loss. Here's the part that women underestimate. Men notice everything. They notice when you stop chasing. They notice when your energy shifts. And for a man who took you for granted, that's the wake-up call. Sometimes the only way a man realizes your value is when he no longer has unlimited access to you. But as long as you're chasing, he knows he's still in control. That's why silence works 100%, because it shifts the power dynamic. Suddenly he has to do the chasing. But let's not sugarcoat it. Some men will not chase. Some men, when you go silent, will let you walk. And as painful as that feels, that's the biggest blessing you can receive, because it shows you he never had the capacity to love you right in the first place. And isn't it better to find that out sooner rather than later? Silence doesn't just test him. It also reveals the truth. If he cares, he'll step up. If he doesn't, he'll stay gone. And either way, you win, because you refuse to waste your time. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but Steve, what if he doesn't come back? What if my silence makes him move on? Listen to me. If your silence makes him move on, then he was already halfway gone anyway. A man who truly values you doesn't walk away because you demanded respect. A man who truly wants you will not let silence end what he believes in. So don't ever fear losing the wrong man, fear wasting years on him. Let me give you a picture. Imagine two women. One gets hurt and she starts chasing. She calls, she texts, she shows up at his door, she argues, she cries, and in the end, he still doesn't respect her. The other woman gets hurt and she says, "Okay, I see how it is." And then she goes quiet. She focuses on herself. She puts her energy into her goals, her friends, her growth. She doesn't call, she doesn't beg, she doesn't explain. And guess what? The man who hurt her feels that absence. He sees her living her life without him. And whether he comes back or not, she wins because she never lowered herself to chasing. That's the type of strength I'm talking about. When you stop chasing, you put yourself in the position of power. You stop being the victim of his actions and you become the author of your own response. You teach him that his behavior has consequences, not through yelling, not through fighting, but through silence. Because silence is dignity. Silence is self-love. Silence is you saying, "I am too valuable to fight for someone who doesn't fight for me." And let me add this, silence is not just about ignoring him. It's also about redirecting your focus. Don't just sit there waiting for him to notice your silence. Use that time to build yourself. Take care of your body, your mind, your spirit. Elevate your life so that even if he comes back, you've already grown beyond the version of yourself who tolerated his nonsense. Silence without self-growth is just empty space, but silence with self-growth, that's transformation. You see, silence protects your heart from being pulled back into a cycle, because once you stop engaging, the cycle breaks. No more arguments, no more false promises, no more back and forth. Just peace, and that peace is priceless, because nothing drains you more than chasing someone who doesn't want to be caught. And don't underestimate how attractive strength is. A man might not admit it, but when a woman walks away with her dignity, when she refuses to chase, she becomes unforgettable. Because there's a difference between a woman who begs to be loved and a woman who says, "If you can't love me right, I'll love myself instead." That's the type of woman a man remembers. That's the type of woman who stands out. So remember this, chasing weakens you, silence strengthens you. When you chase, you give away your power. When you go silent, you reclaim it. And in that silence, you'll find the truth, you'll find your peace, and most importantly, you'll find yourself. The greatest mistake a woman can ever make in a relationship is forgetting her value. And I don't just mean forgetting in a small way. I mean letting the way a man treats her become the definition of what she believes she deserves. That's dangerous. Because the moment you forget your value, you start accepting less. You start tolerating things you never thought you would. You start compromising pieces of yourself just to keep somebody who doesn't even fully appreciate you. And that right there is how hearts get broken, how self-esteem gets destroyed, how years get wasted on the wrong man. Let me make this clear. Your value is not defined by any man. You had value before he showed up, and you'll have value after he leaves. Your value was established the day you were born. It's in the way God created you. A man can add to your life, but he cannot define your worth. If you ever let somebody else's opinion determine how much you're worth, then you've handed them power they don't deserve. And that's why remembering your value is not just important, it's non-negotiable. Too many women get caught in this trap of thinking, If I just do more, he'll love me more. If I just forgive him, he'll see my loyalty. If I just lower my standards a little, he'll appreciate me. No, he won't. A man does not respect discounts. A man does not cherish what he got too easily. And every time you lower your standards, you're putting yourself on clearance. Stop putting yourself on clearance. You are not a bargain. You are a treasure. If he can't afford the cost of loving you right, then let him walk. You see, when you forget your value, you'll start thinking pain is normal. You'll start making excuses for why he doesn't call, why he doesn't show up, why he doesn't respect you. You'll tell yourself, well, at least he's here sometimes. At least he says he loves me. But love without action is nothing but words. And if you believe those empty words over the reality of his actions, that's because somewhere along the way you forgot who you are. You forgot that you are the prize. Now, let me tell you something men already know. Men respect women who respect themselves. That's the truth. If you carry yourself like you're valuable, like you're rare, like you're not easily replaceable, a man has no choice but to see you that way. But if you act like you'll take anything just to have somebody, he'll treat you like you're worth anything. And the problem isn't that he doesn't see your worth. The problem is that you stop showing it. Remember this, a man can't see value in you that you don't see in yourself. If you walk around begging for love, begging for attention, begging for his time, you're showing him that you don't believe you deserve those things naturally. And guess what? He'll treat you accordingly. But if you walk with your head high, if you demand respect without apology, if you carry yourself like you know you're a queen, then that's how he'll treat you. Or he'll get out of the way for the man who will. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine a diamond sitting in a jewelry store. Now imagine that same diamond tossed on the street, covered in dirt. What's the difference? The value didn't change, the environment did. The diamond is still worth thousands, but if it's sitting in the wrong place, people will step on it, ignore it, maybe even treat it like trash. That's what happens when you forget your value. You put yourself in the wrong environment, in the wrong man's hands, and then you start thinking you're worthless. But the truth is, you were always a diamond. You just need to be in the hands of someone who knows how to handle you. And this is where self-respect comes in. You don't wait for a man to treat you right to know you're valuable. You walk into the relationship already knowing it. That way, if he doesn't treat you right, you don't question yourself. You question whether he deserves to be in your life. That's the difference between women who remember their value and women who forget. When you remember your value, you never beg for love. You never tolerate disrespect. You never settle for halfway. Let me tell you this too, your value doesn't decrease because of your past. Some of you think because you've been hurt before, because you've made mistakes, because you've stayed too long in the wrong relationship, that somehow you're damaged goods. That is a lie. Nothing you've been through reduces your worth. If anything, it increases it, because now you carry wisdom. You've been through storms, and you're still standing. That makes you stronger, not weaker. Don't let your past trick you into thinking you're unworthy of a beautiful future. And please hear this, a man cannot complete you. If you think you need a man to feel valuable, then you'll always be desperate, and desperation attracts the wrong kind of men. You have to know your worth on your own. You have to stand in your own confidence, your own peace, your own joy. Then when a man comes along, he doesn't define you, he adds to you. That's how healthy love works. Two whole people come together, not two broken halves trying to complete each other. When you truly remember your value, you stop running after temporary people. You stop crying over men who don't deserve your tears. You stop tolerating inconsistency, disrespect, and half-effort. Because you know what you bring to the table. And when you know that, you're not afraid to eat alone until somebody worthy sits down with you. Too many women are scared of being alone, so they settle for being mistreated. But let me tell you, being alone while knowing your worth is better than being with someone who makes you forget it. And here's the secret, the moment you remember your value, you become magnetic. Men notice it. They feel it. Confidence is attractive. Self-respect is powerful. When you walk like you don't need anybody, but you're open to the right somebody, that's when the right kind of man comes looking for you. Because men are drawn to women who know their worth, not women who are begging to be chosen. So you have to make a decision. Are you going to keep forgetting your value, keep letting people mistreat you, keep lowering your standards just to have somebody next to you? Or are you going to stand tall and say, I remember who I am, I know what I deserve, and I will not settle for less than respect, love, and loyalty? That decision is what separates the women who waste years on the wrong men from the women who attract the right ones. Every time you start doubting yourself, every time you start wondering if you're enough, I want you to remind yourself of this truth: you are worthy right now. Not when you lose weight, not when you make more money, not when he finally treats you better. Right now, as you are worthy of love, respect, peace, and happiness. And if a man doesn't see that, that's his loss, not yours. Let me tell you something right now. If you think you can talk a man into changing, you're already losing. If you think crying harder, pleading more, or begging him with your words is going to transform him, you're wasting your time. A man doesn't change because you keep repeating the same speeches to him. A man changes when your actions show him that you will not accept less. That's the only way, because actions have consequences. Words without action, they're just noise. Now, don't get me wrong. Communication is important. You should tell a man what you need, what hurts you, what you expect. But after you've spoken once, maybe twice, if nothing changes, then talking again won't fix it. He heard you the first time. Men are not deaf. If he's not moving, it's because he doesn't believe you mean what you say. And why doesn't he believe you? Because every time he messed up, you let it slide. Every time he promised to change and didn't, you stayed. You didn't back up your words with action. And a man learns real fast when a woman's words have no consequences. Think of it like raising children. If you tell a child, don't touch that stove, it's hot, and they touch it anyway, but nothing happens, they'll touch it again. But if they touch it once and get burned, they remember forever. Same thing with men. If you say, don't disrespect me, and he does, but you still stay, what did he learn? He learned disrespect doesn't cost him anything. But if the very moment he disrespects you, you withdraw your love, your time, your access, now he feels the burn. Now he knows you mean what you say. That's how lessons are learned. Women spend too much energy explaining themselves over and over. You think if you just explain better, he'll understand. Baby, he already understands. He just doesn't believe you'll do anything if he ignores it. That's the problem. Men don't learn from your begging. They learn from your absence. They learn when they lose privileges. They learn when access is denied. That's how you demand change. Not by saying, please, please, please respect me, but by living in such a way that if he doesn't respect you, he doesn't get you. Let's be clear about something. Men are very simple. They move toward what they want, and they value what they have to work for. If you keep giving him your love after he's hurt you, after he's lied, after he's ignored your needs, then he has no incentive to change. Why would he? He already has you while giving you the bare minimum. But when you pull back, when you say, until you can show me consistency, honesty, effort, you don't get my time. Now you've given him a choice. Step up or step out. And that choice is what separates the men who care from the men who don't. And I'll tell you this, men pay attention to actions way more than words. You could say, I'm done 100 times. But if you're still there every night, if you're still answering the phone every time he calls, if you're still giving him the same access, he doesn't believe you. But the one time you say, I'm done, and then you don't answer, you don't show up, you stop entertaining his excuses. That's when he realizes you're serious. That's when he feels it in his gut. That's when he starts thinking, hold up, I might really lose her. You see, men don't respond to emotional pleading the way women do. Women sometimes think if they show their pain, a man will be moved to change. But men don't operate like that. If anything, some men use your emotions against you. They'll say, oh, she cries, but she never leaves. She complains, but she always forgives. And then they start using your forgiveness as a safety net. That's why begging doesn't work. But action speaks a language men cannot ignore. Imagine this. A man lies to you, you confront him, he denies it. You argue for hours, you cry, you plead, you tell him how much it hurts. He shrugs it off. Now imagine instead he lies to you, you find out, and instead of arguing, you go silent. You stop answering his calls. You stop showing up. You pull back your love. You let him sit in the space he created. You don't need to scream. You don't need to cry. Your actions already did the talking. And trust me, that silence, that absence will echo louder in his mind than any words could. But here's the part that takes courage. You have to be willing to walk away if he doesn't change. Because demanding change through action is not a bluff, it's a standard. You can't say, if you do this again, I'll leave, and then never leave. That's how men stop taking you seriously.